answer some questions about our personal lives and the stories about those sorts of things. The first of which are about decision making. A couple of questions about decision making.
Right. Did you ever drastically change your plans to accommodate someone else, Dave?
Yes.
Would you like to elaborate?
Well, you have children, you have to, I remember vividly the first company I was going to start with Rick Tompane, who you know well, as do I. We were going to start a biomedical device company with intensive care incubation product coming out of our grad work here in the ME department. And it was clear that wasn't going to work anywhere near fast enough, and my wife and I wanted to buy a house, and I had to pay the mortgage. So I stopped, I killed the startup, and went and got a regular job. And I remember standing in front of the dining room of the just purchased house and saying to myself, I hate this.
Sure, I think the obvious places where you change your plans to accommodate somebody else. I quit my job and came back to California to be with a woman that was going to graduate school. And it was kind of like, well, either we don't spend time together or I come back to graduate school when you do.
That's right.
Recently my wife radically changed her plans.
For you?
For me, and said, sure, you can go be an academic and teach full time, and I will take care of the mortgage
money,
and
right?
take care of the mortgage and other things. So
the short answer is, yeah, you organize your life around people all the time, and it's totally okay.
Yeah.
When it's not okay is when you organize your life around people and you never accept that decision and you make them and you bitter, and that's a recipe for being a very unhappy person. So if you need to do that, be sure you actually do it. Don't just succumb to it.
Right. Okay.
Let's see. How about, is there anything you didn't do you wish you had done? I always wished I had actually taken the invitation to go to Stanford in Germany instead of stay back here and take organic chemistry. That was one of the worst decisions I ever made.
I tell all my students, go overseas.
Go overseas.
I wish I had done.
I didn't sightsee when I traveled on business. My wife always did, and I thought that was really smart. I just would go and take the meeting and be too busy a person and take the red eye back and have another meeting the next morning and not stay over the weekend and see the Cherry Blossom Festival in Osaka or see a Boston, the Cubs play in Boston or Chicago. And, I didn't do any of that stuff, and it was stupid.
Yeah. Yeah, probably that would be, can't think of one big decision I want to rethink, but lots of little things like not taking time to go enjoy the fact that I'm in Japan every other weekend for Apple, and I've never seen, the castle at Nara or the Big Buddha or anything else. So I did finally stop doing that and started sightseeing.
I did too. Much too late. Anything else in that group? How about
number 11?
Yeah.
Do you ever have tensions with your parents about career choices, and how did you manage that without damaging the relationship, the parent relationship?
Not much. I did toy briefly with becoming a minister, and my mother was an atheist, and that made her very angry. So that was actually a minor, but it was an influence on not doing that. And I wasn't going to do it anyway. But for the most part, no. For the most part, I didn't have any parental tension. Did you?
Not really. I had wonderful parents who said, whatever you want to do is okay.
Right.
We just want you to be happy. My dad had a bias. He was worried I was going to be an artist, which he didn't think was actually a job.
Right.
And he's actually,
Bill's dad's a senior Hewlett Packard executive.
Yeah, kind of right. And so he said, it'd be great if you could do something where you could get a job.
Right. Right.
Because I'm paying a lot for Stanford, and if you're going to come out of there, and
at least carry your own weight.
And at least, and in those days it wasn't going to go work at Starbucks, but it would, go work at McDonald's.
Right.
Well, that's a problem for me.
Right.
But it didn't take me very long to find something that I wanted to do that could combine my interest in art and aesthetics and design and engineering and science. So it all worked out. I think if I had actually pushed it, it would have been a problem. Although my brother came along a little bit later, my younger brother, and he said, I think I'm a musician. And my dad said, well, go to music school then. Which shocked the heck out of me. So lots of flexibility in your parents. Don't undersell them.
Yeah.
They actually want you to be happy. They might translate it as
the
to
way
be
they
happy
think
you should be an investment banker.
Right.
And that won't be right for you. But if you can get them to talk about what's going to make you, son or daughter, happy, there's a soft spot in there somewhere.
Yeah. There typically is.
Sometimes.
And if there's not, well, you either say thank you but no, and you very respectfully decline their counsel, or you have to decide if it's worth, for a period of time perhaps, doing that as an act of respect. And that's perfectly valid. I've got a student right now who's decided to spend the first 10 years of his career both collecting finances for and honoring his parents, and he feels perfectly solid about that. Then he's going to go into another field. He's got all mapped out, and I think that's a very honorable decision.
Absolutely.
As would walking away, say, no, I can't do that. I mean, either one would be okay. Depends on who you are.
It's just like with the last answer, the thing that doesn't work is doing it, being pissed off and making everybody around you miserable.
Then we all lose.
Because you're doing what somebody else told you to do. Accept it. This is the accept part of design thinking. Accept it's your decision to make it, and then live into it graciously and with respect.
Do you ever worry about being a bad parent?
Yeah. Of course.
Not much these days anymore, actually, because my kids all came out. My father died when I was very young at his own. We don't think he committed suicide, frankly, or just died at his own hand by mistake. But he died of a drug overdose, and he was a Phi Beta Kappa brilliant physicist, but was never very successful in getting his life to work. Big brain, big engine, no transmission is the way I often described him. Wonderful guy, but couldn't make life work. So he died at 49. And so I didn't have much model of being a dad, but I wanted to be a good one. So I was nervous. I didn't know what I was doing. And then I then I realized that your kids want you to be successful, and they'll cut you a ton of slack if you just get most of it right most of the time. I found my kids to be incredibly forgiving, and that was huge.
Yeah, I think you always worry about being a bad parent because you've never done it before.
Right.
You don't know if you're doing it right until years after. The reward for doing it right is your kids look at you at a certain point and say, hey, thanks a lot, I don't need you anymore, see ya, I'm out of here. And so it's a kind of bittersweet success.
Right.
All my kids aren't through that process yet. I'm feeling like I haven't screwed it up too badly.
Right.
But, I've also spent, 10 years of therapy talking about my parents. So I told them all there's a little trust fund for whatever we broke. We'll fix it when we get to the other end.
Yeah. I kept telling my eldest, I'm practicing on you. He goes, you're doing it different with my brothers and sisters. That's right. I'm learning on you.
That's it. This isn't an odd one, numbered one, but I want to answer it anyway because I have an answer. How old were you when you got married, and what age do you recommend? I have a very simple answer. Men should never marry before 30. Anyone who's thinking of getting married before 30, you don't know what the hell you're doing. And for the women who might be listening, do not even touch a guy, particularly in this day and age, until he's 30, maybe 35, because for a variety of reasons, and I can go into it in great detail, men are not formed until about 30. So 30 is a good age. I got married at 30. Worked for me 30, 35 for a guy.
When people ask me about marriage, if I had to use a line, I would say, be a healthy person who marries a healthy person for love. And each one of those three elements, being one and finding one, and then for love, there's like a 10-page white paper behind each of those clauses. But a healthy person has to be a formed person, and while I may not hold it quite as stridently as Bill just described, there really is something, by the way, developmentally to being past 26 or 27 at least, and that's only truer today than it was 20 years ago, or 50 years ago. I was married at 25, and in retrospect it was too young. But I've known people marrying younger than that who've done well, but they're the people who are 25 going on 30 or 35. So I would say, if you're not sure if you're ready, the answer is probably you're not.
Yeah.